And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
Together we're the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
And not only that, but we're also the founders of Codename.
And we will be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Unless we're not.
It's been true so far.
Today is our 23rd episode.
And it is also the 2nd of December.
True, but what does that have to do with anything?
Well, it means, as of yesterday, you are now officially allowed to play Christmas music and put up Christmas decorations.
What if you started earlier? I'm just asking for a friend.
Well, anyone who played a song, put up a decoration, or even had a thought of doing so is going to be receiving a citation by certified mail, and it comes with a fine. And if you don't pay that fine in the next 14 days voluntarily, you're automatically placed on Santa's naughty list.
Wait, Santa's naughty? Doesn't that seem a little bit ironic?
No, I'm to understand it is just coincidental.
Oh, okay. We are here to answer your development and design questions and do really bad jokes about idle champions and other things. Yeah.
Someone in the chat says federal prison. Anyway, if you don't ask any questions, however, you might have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of Star Wars. Wait, Episode 4? Wait, we already did this one.
Yes, but we've run out of things I can recite from memory, so we're looping all the way back to the beginning again.
Can you recite from memory the order we did them in before?
No.
Lazy.
Anyway.
Right. As always, we pulled some questions from the previous show that we didn't get to, and we will answer some of those while waiting for new questions to come in.
That's true. I think we also have some highlights from last week, or not some highlights, but some questions from last week that we highlighted to be addressed.
Some of them, I to understand, did get addressed.
I'm to understand that as well.
All right. So the first one was a request for an indicator if a champion in another party is actually in the formation in the other party. So when you're swapping them back, whether or not you'd be pulling them out. And that, I believe, is done. And I think it's even out on one of the Steam ones. I'll have to check with Peter on that specifically. I know at least one of these got out, and the others were primed to go out in the next update. So we've got that. Another question here was about the chat window location. There was a request that it be over top of the area transition blackout. And at this point, if you've got the chat window popped out, it is now on top of that. Again, provided you're on a platform that's received the most recent update. So Steam, I believe, at this point. And then the last one is one that I tagged that is getting looked at but isn't in yet, and that is that the upgrade bubbles that I guess, especially when you've got familiars, will pop up over top of your ability to click the Switch Champion UI and other UI on there. And we're going to add that as a setting, so you can just turn the upgrade bubbles off if that's something that you don't wish to see, which I think sort of more seasoned players are not interested in seeing. So there's that. I guess moving on to leftover questions. Mm-hmm. We've got very few actually that we pulled in from last week. I know we almost got to the end of the list last week. So our first question here is for you, Justin.
Oh boy.
It is from Enoditath asking, there was talk before the release of Trials of Mount Tiamat that the Assault Team champion bonuses would be based on champion popularity. Thus far, the champions and their bonuses have been static. At what cadence might they change? Or has this been scrapped or misunderstood?
Yeah, so it's still a plan. The plan is still to do this. We haven't really done anything that would have caused the champion popularity to shift all that much. The last few champions I don't think have changed the meta all that much in terms of what's being used most popularly. That's a word. So yeah, we will do that at some point. Probably it'll come shortly after or a moderate amount of time after major balance changes, which we are planning to start to do again in the future.
Major balance changes?
Major balance changes, that's right. So yeah, it's still planned, but we don't have a specific sort of cadence that we're going to do it at. And we're going to want to do it after we've done things that that we think will cause larger shifts in champion usage. Let's see. Here's one from Longtime Lurker from last episode.
Cheeky question to put in here.
which sounds, it looks a lot like a question that we've already answered in this episode. It says, question, have you looked into adding an option to hide the upgrade bubbles that pop up? Well, have you?
I think so.
I haven't been paying attention during this show.
Yes, definitely. All right. And on to this week's questions, which are already starting to pile in. All right. First question is from Garwar. And Garwar asks, will we see any balance changes to trials or champions /champion combos prior to our holiday vacation?
It is unlikely that we will be able to sneak that stuff in prior to the holidays. I have compiled a full list of things to change in trials and update in trials, and the air conditioning just came on and I can hear it in my headphones, so I assume everyone else can hear it too. Yeah, we do have a completed list sort of trials, things that we want to change, and we often do at the end of the year, we'll do like a year in review blog and looking forward to the new year. So it may very well be that we'll be far enough along in the implementation of those changes that we'll be able to talk about them in that blog. But I can't guarantee anything on that account. But yes, we do have plans for that, but they probably won't make it in before the holidays. And the reason for that, I guess, to expand on that a little bit, is just that anything that's front end, we're running about usually about 4 weeks ahead, 4 to 6 weeks ahead, or we need to run about 4 to 6 weeks ahead to get stuff out onto our slowest platform, our slowest authorization, or our slowest platform. And during the holidays, that's actually up to like 8 or 10 weeks or something like that. I don't know why. They don't do a lot of. Anyway, so it's a little bit delayed around the holidays, and but hopefully it'll pick back up again, and we can start to iterate faster on those platforms in the spring, or in the January. In the January. That is correct. Here's a question from Wandering Breft, who asks.
Wait, that's not a question.
Who asks, can I please just pass on my gratitude to all involved at CNE in every role, and for the full cast of the just concluded season of ICP? Thank you and well done.
I guess that's sort of a question.
Yes, you can. We will pass that on to the, it might even be already passed on, because that stuff often gets copy and pasted into our positive feedback channel. But yes, I thought this season was great of ICP. I enjoyed the last episode very much.
That was very well done. Okay, next question here is from Howitt1. And they're asking, fast wild offers were great. Could they be made permanent, or even an option that you can switch on and off? Yeah, so the fast wild offers... The Whitaker wild offer system, as we call it, is something that we have generalized, and we are able to turn that on and off, and add those wild offer storms sort of whenever we feel like it. We're probably not going to do that permanently, just because we'd like wild offers to be this thing that you kind of get from time to time. It's exciting when you can look at it and see what you got. But do we want to talk about the history of the wild offer storm? It sounds like you already alluded to that. Let's talk about the history of where the sort of wild offer storm came from, because I think it's a fun thing to talk about. Normally we would talk about this in like the founders Q&A or something during Extra Life, but we can talk about it here. But the wild offer storm came from actually an incident that occurred in Crusaders of the Lost Idols, which was our game that we made before Idle Champions. And we had a very similar kind of wild offer system. They're called flash sales, I think, in Crusaders. And there was one day when Dave got his fingers into the code and somehow he was fixing a bug of some sort. It was a weekend. And, yes. Kevin, who had already gone home, had left something in a broken state. I believe you actually couldn't purchase them at all, is what was going on. Like they weren't updating, or you couldn't get them. I mean, this was about 2.5-3 years ago now. So the details are a little bit fuzzy, but I do remember that the message came in that they weren't working and Kevin was unavailable, and I thought, well, this is no problem. I can take a quick look at this and see what I can do to fix this. And I went into the code and I found what I thought was the problem, and I coded in a solution and uploaded the file, and then I checked online and it was working, and I thought, great, good, solved. I can leave this and tell Kevin on the beginning of the next week, and he can look into exactly what the issue was. But however I'd set it up, I'd broken it, and it actually just gave you a new wild offer the moment if you purchased a wild offer, or your other wild offer expired, it immediately gave you a new one, which actually turned out that a lot of the players really, really liked, and so people just started buying them up one after the other. So henceforth, the wild offer storm, known as here, they've been calling it the Whitaker Wild. I don't know about the name for it, but what it was actually a serendipitous accident on my part.
It was, yeah. Initially, the Crusaders offers were very similar to the Idle Champions one, where they were every couple of days. But yes, so that was fun.
Okay, next question.
I can ask this one. Yeah. So from Vovcast here, they're asking a question about offline progress, and they say background simulation starts every 10 minutes and calculates the next 10 minutes of progress while you're online. So for other parties, this takes 0 to 3 minutes for me. But offline simulation is different. Let's say in Avernus, a 700 area variant started. The party set and offline for 12 hours at area 10. When you're online, calculating offline progress bar pops up for 10 seconds, and then we immediately get into area 730. So what happens during those 10 seconds, and how can it be so fast compared to the background simulation while you're online? And it's just the fact that it takes very little time to simulate all 700 areas.
Right.
So what's going on there? It's kind of two parts.
And this question is a question that was also asked by the same player last week, I believe, in a very similar but different way. And so I'm guessing that maybe they didn't entirely like my answer last week. And so, I mean, it is a question of...
It kind of breaks down into two parts, right? There's kind of like the question, like while you're online, there's background progress, like your other parties that aren't your current party sort of progress, and that just seems to take a lot longer than the offline progress that occurs when you just come back to the game. So can you speak, I guess, first to kind of why is that slow and the other offline progress really fast?
Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons for that, and one of them is that when you're running in the offline calculation mode, when the game first opens, it runs the game in a headless mode that has absolutely nothing else running, and it runs the simulation at like 100 times speed, or basically as fast as it can.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by headless mode, just for
absolutely
non-developers?
Nothing is rendering, despite the fact that all of the frame calculations are still happening. And it's happening with a larger time step, but it's a time step large enough that we're not that the simulation isn't coming out incorrect, or at least too much so. And so one of the things they have to be aware of is that a lot of the effects that happen on, like the timing on effects from the champions occurs on what would be animation frames. And so actually a lot of like, character jumps out and an effect procs and something happens from there. And then that the animation of the character jumping out, the effect procking, is all of those events have to actually run. And they're not running in a way that, like the way the game is designed is that those happen on the frame events, on the simulation events, not sort of in a mode that, what am I trying to say is that it's actually tied to having the characters do the animations. Like, Bruno attacks, and on frame 35 he does damage, and that actually has to happen in order for the damage effect to occur. And so when we're running it in background simulation mode, we actually say, all right, what if we simulated a full second's worth of time in one frame, and it actually then forwards how many frames it would have gone through really, really quickly, and then it hits that event frame, the frame that the damage occurs on, and it does the damage. So it actually has to simulate all that. And so in the background, actually the animations are running just really, really, really fast, but they're not being rendered. So all of the updates are happening, like all of the different frame changes are happening, and events that would happen on a different frame happen, but they don't get displayed. So there's a bunch of heavy lifting that has to be done with that. Not just the animation portion, but then also all the calculations when any of those events occur. But it can be done significantly faster if we're not also at the same time running the game and showing like an active party, which is then actually rendering and also which does take up a big chunk of time. So anything running with the game actively running is going to be slower than anything that can run when the game is just basically paused. So that's one reason why the earlier simulation is faster. But then the other piece of it is it can run once it gets, let me see, I know it starts to do some heuristics on how far to jump through areas, and I don't have the exact details of which areas it'll jump through, but I know it starts to do a jump forward 5 areas, can you still kill the monsters? Cool, jump forward 5 areas, can you still kill the monsters? Which will let it go through a larger period in a shorter time frame, which is different when you're simulating like a 10-minute window, which the other issue on that, to my understanding, and this is something that Mark has all the details on. So Mark would be the one who'd be able to really dig in and give the nitty-gritties on this. But my understanding is that the simulation doesn't run faster than normal speed through that period. So when it's simulating 10 minutes and it takes 0 to 3 minutes, that's it doing one area, calculating, jumping ahead, doing the next area, jumping ahead, getting stuck, stopping. But it shouldn't take up a lot of additional resources. So your game in the background, or your game in the foreground, the one you're still running, should, for the most part, and for the most part it does, sees no performance impact from that particular background. Whereas if you were to try and run that background simulation, say in 10 or 15 seconds instead of in 2 or 3 minutes, you would see a pause while it did that, and then your foreground party would continue. So by making the background simulation take longer, by doing less steps per frame, it's letting the foreground party still run without interrupting your play. I don't know.
Good. Yeah, I think that was pretty.
Running out of breath here for some
pretty
reason.
extensive. If you have any follow-up questions for next week's stream, Vovcast, just
yeah, and if you wanted us to check something, like if something doesn't seem to be right, certainly submit a ticket with the party that's having that you think something isn't working right for, and we can check it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say there are some issues. I think they're mostly display issues with offline progress that we're looking into these days with just it not reporting the right number of areas you've progressed. And so if anyone kind of experiences that, please submit ideally a screenshot of your return, your offline progress dialogue that you get when you load up the game after you've been offline for a while, and we can submit that through a ticket, and we can take a look.
Yeah, and in addition to that, as much detail as possible, sort of where it occurred. I know we had a report that was a little ambiguous that we were talking about earlier in the week, and we weren't actually sure if it was a report of when you came back, the immediate offline progress had shown an incorrect aggregation of data, or if you'd come back, it had run that, and then someone had swapped to the other party, and that swapping to the other party had then shown, oh, you've only been away for 10 minutes, because it was possible that additional away time had been calculated before the swap. Anyway, sort of as much detail as possible of the situation, and then a screenshot. And obviously, but as mentioned previously, when you open a ticket, it does do a snapshot of your formation and sort of your current account setup, which we can then use to open up and see what's going on for ourselves.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Next question. Vladimir Night Road? From Vladimiring Night Road.
I think it's just Vladimir Night Road.
Vladimir Night Road.
That's correct.
Let's go with that.
Though I do enjoy how you attempted to pronounce it yourself before you said it out loud on stream.
It could be Vladimir Nitrode.
It could be,
but it's probably not.
It could be.
The question is, what, if anything, determines the unlock price for a champion? Celeste is 50 gold. Dinar is 45 gold. What gives, Justin?
Yeah, what's up with that? So, I mean, it's really just kind of random. When we're putting in a new champion, when we pick their slot, we just we kind of look at the other values that were used in that slot and give them something that's kind of within a similar range. Maybe push it up a little bit or push it down a little bit from the top or the bottom. Oh, hey, Faith. So yeah, it's just a random sort of thing that we pick when we're doing the balancing for a champion. Yeah.
Okay.
This
is a question that I'm going to point at you, just
That's
because we get this question on a fairly regular basis, and this is any new info. It's from Neo Surdy asking, is there any new info on how to get the Green Mage Hand familiar skin in the future, and maybe when?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So this has been in our production list mentioned in our production meeting for a little while, and it's on our list of something to add to the gem store potentially, but there's no timeline on it right now because we just have a bunch of other things that are much higher priority. So it is on our list of things to add, hopefully to the gem store, but we have not yet gotten to it. That's essentially it.
Soon, TM.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question here is from Mishak1025 asking, would it be possible to add a section in-game to give more information about team affiliations? For example, Dark Order, C-Team, Waffle Crew, etc. I know a lot of them come from streams and whatnot, but it would be nice to have a small place in-game to get more info on them.
Mm-hmm. So this is a good opportunity for me to plug my updated collections dialogue that someday over the rainbow we will get into the game. But yeah, one thing I really want to do is have do a new pass of the collections dialogue and add a whole bunch more info to it, because right now it just has basically your equipment for each champion, and I would like to have different sections for the adventures you've completed, the monsters you've fought. The team affiliations could be a good section to have in there, and just fill it with progress bars. And you could have like the team affiliation page. It's got like, you've got 4 out of 5 champions from this affiliation. Here's the one you're missing. Here's how to get them, and just a lot of really cool stuff in there, so players can really go in and explore everything that's in the game, and figure out how to get it and how stuff works. And so that's a dialogue that I've been dreaming about for a long time, and unfortunately I'm not sure when it's going to get into the game, but one of these days I'm going to do a formal design for it and give it to Peter, and then it'll be off of my hands and and into his. So yes.
Okay, I don't know really how much further that would put it towards getting production, but
at least it would be out of my head and onto paper, or the virtual Google Docs paper.
Next question here is from Hawang. I don't know, I'm going to say that wrong. I mean, I am going to say it wrong. Under blessings, you see a total favor and favor spent. Why not show favor left to spend, so we don't have to try and do the math to figure out how much we have to spend? No math.
I agree. No math.
Wait, don't we show?
We show total favor, and we show favor spent, just like they said, yes. But we do not show favor remaining to spend.
Really?
Yeah, it's true.
Really?
It's true. And then, like we realized recently on the conversion dialogue, we actually do show your favor left to spend on the conversion dialogue. So it can get a little bit confusing when you've spent most of your favor. We had a player who had spent E to the 27 favor and somehow managed to have E to the 25 favor left over. And then when they were going to convert their favor, it showed them as they were going to get 50% of their total favor, which was the E to the 27. And so it looked like they had E to the 25 and they were going to get E to the 26 or E to the 27. And with that being 50%. Anyway, yes, I think there's some stuff there we can shift around to make it a little bit more clear what's going on. So yeah, I think that's something where we can maybe do a pass on that. So I'm going to mark that one as yellow and try and get to that this next week. Let's see. I'm gonna go down to this one here so that Dave can talk.
You don't want to answer the other one?
No, I can answer that one next. I've done like four questions in a row. Here's a question from a player, Hesjingixen, who says, sometimes when I tag in Jarlaxle or Karazhan, they come in facing backwards, and it seems like they won't do anything until I remove and re-add them. Is there some reason for this, or is it just a bug? See, I've seen this where you put them in and they're backwards, but as soon as they attack, they go the right way around.
Yeah, man, I've seen what you're describing. Yeah, that they'd come in backwards, and I believe it had something to do with the state of the slot either when they were put in or removed. It could accidentally get stuck in because Jarlaxle actually flips when he does his backstab attack.
And Corazon does the same. I believe uses the same attack.
Yeah, so because the animation flips them, there's an exact moment I think you can pull them out or put them in that results in, I think it's pulling them out and then putting them back in that state. So if they were pulled out, flipped, I think they can go back in and they start flipped.
There's a bunch of players saying that it does seem like they stay backwards and refuse to attack until you remove and re-add them.
Yeah, that wasn't something I was familiar with. That portion of it wasn't something I was familiar with, but that's definitely
like
a
bug to me. Sure. And not a trivial display bug, but an actual full-blown bug.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's look into that.
Okay. So I was going to hop back up to 10 unless you didn't want to answer that one.
No, go for it.
All right. So Solitude GGs asks, is there any reason in particular that wild offers are the way that they are? I feel that there's a lot of us that would love to pay for the 2 to 5 of them that we really want instead of possibly waiting months for them to show up. Are there any plans to change this?
So there's a couple of questions and sort of comments in here. So, I mean, we do, the kind of the analytics side of the team does look at sort of the popular items that are selling in wild offers, and we do kind of tweak the odds for those items to show up so that they're more likely to show up. But the thing is, there's hundreds of potential GEs that can show up in wild offers. There's a bunch of feats that we've added now. There's skins and familiars, and so it's I mean, the wild offer system essentially just creates a random sort of offer. For the most part, it's not based off of your individual play. So we don't really look at kind of what champions you're using and give you stuff for those champions or anything like that. It could be something that we could change that would probably make it a little bit, would probably give you more items or more offers that you would be interested in. So who knows, it might be something we do in the future. And the other thing is just sort of which items that you say here, I feel like there are a lot of us that would like to pay for 2 to 5 of them that they really want instead of waiting months for those ones to show up. So it's just tough for us to kind of know what are those 2 to 5 ones and offer them to you as your first 2 to 5 wild offers. But we are always trying to improve the wild offer system. Like the recent changes we made allowed for multiple sort of primary items. You could get a couple of feats or 2 skins or a skin and a feat, or a champion unlock and a skin, all in the same wild offer. So we are continuing to iterate on the system and make it make the offers more compelling. We also did some changes recently to try to have more of the kind of cheaper offers for folks who haven't purchased offers very often, so that they're more likely to be something that's more compelling for you. So we'll continue to operate to iterate on that and see where it takes us.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, one thing, just in the interest of being somewhat more just straight about this is that the wild offers they're a sales system and they're kind of a marketing system, and their objective is to give you a selection of items that are offered at a lesser price to sort of give you an option to buy in game, especially if you're not already. And so a part of this question to me feels like you ask a store, well, there's lots of items that are on sale. We'd love to. These 2 to 5 of them that I would really want right now, but they're not on sale right now. So why not just leave them permanently on sale instead of waiting months for them to show up? And so it is a sale mechanism, and it's a marketing mechanism, and it's part of its design is to encourage purchase behavior, not just sort of the game side of it too. So we are looking at it from that aspect too. So yeah.
Let's see here. I'm going to jump down to question 16 for you, Dave, from Nefser. And they're asking, can we get a warning that a Modron core has a level reset enabled when starting a new variant/adventure, or disable the reset setting? Hey, losing the setup I have and potions, etc., because I forgot to manually disable it. So I think what they're asking is, so they've got a Modron core that's set to like reset at area 30 for like gem farming or whatever, and then they grab that party and go try and do a variant or an adventure, and they forget that there's an automatic reset there, and so they're just chugging along, get to area 30, and suddenly their adventure resets.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I was distracted by some of the items in the chat there, which we should address in a second. But
sure.
I think this came up. This has come up a couple of times, and the answer is there absolutely should be a warning for that, especially when you swap the cores. I think we had an issue with that not getting turned off, or
yes,
it was getting turned off.
That is another case. Yeah.
Yeah. So we should definitely have that looked at. And I'll tag that yellow. Yeah, I just noticed that after I answered that about the wild offer thing, that the comments here seem to be around that a lot of the items actually get more expensive when they're bundled into an offer. And what were your thoughts on that, Justin?
I mean, I think that it depends on sort of how you value certain things. I think for the most part, they're going to be cheaper in general than buying all of the things in that offer separately. So like the number of chests, it generally doesn't go lower than 6 or 7, I think, for a $10 offer, which is the number of chests you get for $10 when you're buying straight from the chest store. The potions and stuff that you would get, obviously different people value different potions at certain values, but there are certainly some potions that I think are pretty good. Gems, when they pop up in there, are generally going to be, you can use those to get a familiar from the store. You can get them to get more gold chests, which can get you feats and other stuff. So, I mean, I think there is value in some of that other stuff there, but I do think there is sometimes a perception that the only thing of value in the wild offer is just the golden item or the feat or the skin. And so I think that's something we just need to kind of try and iterate on and try and find other ways to provide value to make those other items, feel rewarding.
Right. Okay. And now to just bounce back to the previous question, because now we're following the live chat and I'm seeing Garwar pointing out that you literally can't, it will not reset an adventure you haven't already completed. So when you're switching to a Modron core here with a level reset to a new adventure variant, it's only going to be on stuff you're repeating. Is that what's going on here?
Under free play or maybe on trials, because that kind of functions like, or time gate, all of those kind of functions similar to a free play.
Yeah, Gar was saying the complaint is 100% about trials.
Okay.
Yeah,
that definitely seems like something that we can
add a note to that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right. Do you want to go back to question 14 there, and then we can...
Yeah. All right.
pop back down.
Morden71 asks, could we get a pop-up notification regarding Trials of Tiamat when the party is full and when the campaign has been launched?
Yeah, I think this is a really good idea. I think we can do that. I'm pretty sure that the client will periodically kind of request an update on the trial if you're in the lobby. So we should be able to do that. I can reach out to Peter and see if that's a possibility, because that actually was kind of the intention initially, but it looks like it might have gotten forgotten about. Also, my oven has once again reached the desired temperature. Can I just say, smart devices, sometimes they're just pointless. I don't need to know that Lauren is cooking something in my oven while I'm at work. And neither does chat, but you know what? Now they do.
Okay, let's just move on to the next question.
So here's a question from Billy G 2000, who says, is the game stability issues being addressed soon? Game is still crashing. It's starting to frustrate me to the point that I'm going to be quitting playing soon. I have already been away for almost 4 weeks now.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be specific to whatever Billy G's got set up in their formation. That would be my guess. I think the easiest thing to do would be to submit a ticket with this right after you have a crash. Tell Sean to forward that on to me, and I can take a look at that. We can run it in a side machine at high speed for as many hours as it takes to see what's going on. Usually when there are crashing issues, it's because of a slow memory leak. The slow memory leaks often tend to be attached to one ability or another. That's can be very champion specific. So if you're seeing that, it's likely connected to your formation, and if I run it in the debugger for a day or two at high speed, I will find it. But as much detail as you can about how frequently that's happening, what how much memory it's getting up to before it's crashing, that sort of thing, passed on to Sean, and tell Sean to forward that on to me, and I will take a look at that.
Yeah, and I think that goes for anyone who's having an issue like that. If it is if your game's crashing on a regular basis, then please open a ticket, give us as much information as you can, and I mean, we want to fix those issues. So, and it looks here like a giveaway will be running soon. And they're asking if I can announce it on stream. Yes, I can. I can announce it on stream. There's going to be a giveaway. It looks like it's going to be for some Trials of Mount Tiamat shirts. We're going to pull a couple of winners for this one. So you have to type
two winners.
Two winners. So DEC2 December deck 2. Type that in chat, and you can be entered for a chance to win one of our very cool Idle Champions Presents the Trials of Mount Tiamat shirts, which we will ship out to you. They're real shirts. They're very cool. I'm not wearing one right now.
That's true. I can see the pile from here.
I'm wearing a shirt, just not one of those Trials of Mount Tiamat shirts.
I got the Bardic Inspiration shirt.
That's true. The Bardic Inspiration shirt. No, sorry.
Preferably not mine either.
Yes, and we will ship it to you. Someone's in chat is asking. We will ship it to you anywhere in the world. Asterisks. I don't think we're legally allowed to ship it to a couple of countries. So, but as long as you don't live in North Korea or I don't know where else. But we might not ship to Antarctica too, or it might just take a long time to get there. Okay, let's do another question.
Putting your foot in your mouth. I'm just gonna let this one go.
Let's just do an hour of me just saying random stuff that has nothing to do with Idle Champions. So here's a question from Slammers, who asks, is it possible to get some normalization?
Before you ask the question, I just want to answer it already with absolutely not. All right, go ahead.
So mean. Is it possible to get some normalization in how inventory /familiar /adventure party /jukebox, etc. work? For example, some close while hitting escape, but others do not. Two close with clicking off the box. Familiars when opens hide the box, and the other does not. Also, it would be nice to hide the jukebox button as they hit it accidentally occasionally. Basically, make all the pop-ups act the same with escape or clicking off or button to close.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly take a look at this and make sure that everything is functioning the way that we want it to. Some of those are a little bit different in the way that they work in general, though. Like the Jukebox, for example, is a pop-up box that you can position on the screen and leave open while you play, even though I guess it's bigger than you may necessarily want, but it does allow that. And because of that, some of the other options like clicking off to the side or hitting escape or that sort of thing don't necessarily contextually apply. Let's see the inventory.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't want when you pop out the chat to have it escape, then like hide the chat or pop it back in, right? I guess you're thinking the Jukebox is a similar kind of style to that.
Anything that you can move around and leave up on the screen while you play.
Like the DPS breakdown.
Yeah, same for the DPS breakdown. Isn't going to work that way. The familiars one should also disappear on a click. These two clicking off inventory familiar. Clicking off the box, yes. Escape should close the familiar one too. I think that's probably something that's not in line, and I think that was probably an oversight. But we can certainly make that one close on escape. Let's see what the other ones. Others do not. Also be nice to hide the Jukebox button. I hit it accidentally. Wait, the Jukebox button? You mean on the menu? Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, so there are some differences. There are some differences there between the functionality of the type of pop-up that is consistent. The one I see here for sure is that familiars should close with escape. But I think that's the only out of sort here piece, unless I'm missing something. Do you see anything there, Justin, that I'm missing on that?
Nope.
Okay. Someone is saying in chat, escape not closing the swipey swap button? The swipey swap button. What's the swipey swap button?
Swipey swap? Maybe I meant the swappies, like the champion swapping dialogue? A little pop-up?
Yeah. Escape could certainly close more things, but... Okay. Next question is from Mike Baldy. Mike Baldy's asking, are any update on possible legendary bonuses for tank health? Or perks, blessings, or anything to keep tank health on pace with all the power creep that has been added since Trials was added to the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's definitely some issues with tank health getting a little bit outclassed by some of the higher levels, especially once you get over kind of area 1000 and beyond. It's something that we'll definitely start to consider kind of moving forward. We don't have any immediate plans to address that because right now a lot of the variants and whatnot kind of cap out before area 1000, and actually a bunch of the spoilers, one of the trials changes is going to kind of pull down some of the area requirements for the higher difficulty trials. It's not something that's at the top of our priority list, but it is something that we're going to start to keep in mind as we add even more potential power creep over the next 6 months or so. Beep. You can ask me the next one too if you want.
Sure. Question here from Nefsir. Can we get a warning or alert when you have X hours left on Tmat when you haven't played at a level when you haven't yet played a level in that 24-hour cycle? Once you miss one, you're stuck being out of the top potential damage players.
Yeah, I think that's something we can do as well. We'll want to alongside the sort of your trial has started or your trial is full, you can start it now kind of thing. I think those are a couple more notifications that we can probably look into adding as sort of, hey, the trial day is almost over and you haven't completed your adventure yet. And I kind of see these as just being little kind of informational sort of tooltips coming out of the trials button at the top of the screen, because that's kind of where it would make sense to put them. Oops. Just switch my keyboard to French.
Okay. Bonjour. Here's a question, Justin, that we may or may not know the answer to.
Yeah.
Asked by Cruciferous. Is that it? Cruciferous Kale?
Just keep on trying. We've got 15 minutes left. Let's just keep on going.
Cruciferous Kale would like to know what other games are popular among the C&E dev staff these days.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I know for me specifically, played a little bit of the Halo Infinite multiplayer stuff at Extra Life. That was pretty fun. I see a lot of Rocket
Both
League
of us are
around
still
the
terrible
office.
at it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm terrible at Halo. I've not been good at Halo since the early 2000s, and even then, I was not good at Halo.
It's probably blasphemous, but I'm looking forward to the campaign portion, not the multiplayer.
How? Tell me you're old without telling me how old you are. Yeah, I've seen. I always, when I walk around at lunch and sort of see what people are playing, I see a lot of kind of Hearthstone and Magic Arena, sort of online CCGs going on. We've got a couple of people in the office who are playing the latest Minecraft patch 1.18. That's fun. I've been like, hey, if I want to recruit Xeraphon, I probably should do some of the Icewind Dale campaign. So I've been furiously playing that. Martin says Arena Gods.
Oh, we played that at Extra Life. I don't know if people are playing that outside of there.
I don't know if anyone else knows what that is, because doesn't it only have like 50 downloads and like 40 of those were our staff? So we found, hey, we'll plug it. Why not? So on Steam, there's a game called Arena Gods, a little indie game where it's couch co-op, or not couch co-op at all, yeah. couch multiplayer, competitive couch multiplayer, and it is the go-to at 4 a.m. on Extra Life days for the office, and it's quite a hoot when you haven't had any sleep in 22 hours. I
don't know that you'd know anything about that, Justin.
Well, I hear it's quite a hoot when you haven't had any sleep in 22 hours. I often don't have any sleep in 22 hours just by default, by lieu of having a young child. Do you have any other games that you've noticed around the office to add to that list?
You know, there's a number, and I can't remember what they're called. I know Sean was playing something that looked pretty cool the other day, and I asked him what it was, and he told me, and the name has slipped my mind, and I know Alex was playing another game as well that was pretty cool.
Alex was playing another game? Yeah, Alex only plays Dark Souls.
Apparently, it's branched out.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, Outer Wilds, I picked that up in the Steam sale, and I've yet to play it, but I have it installed here on my work machine, so maybe instead of balancing stuff, I'll just go play the Outer Wilds.
Don't tell the chat that. All right.
Sorry.
Moving on. Let's move on to the next question.
Voice. Here, I'll ask this one of you, because this is more of a tech question. So this is from Timnos, who says, why do my parties go idle in offline/BG mode, even when they're doing trivially difficult, I imagine they mean trivially easy areas, with respect to their levels/abilities? Is there something I can do to minimize this happening to me?
Why do my parties go idle in offline?
So idle, I assume that just means offline, or like auto progress kind of turns on or turns off.
Turns off. I mean, that sounds like a bug to me. I know this sounds like something that
we were kind of discussing this earlier this week.
Yeah, that occasionally this was happening to him and you hadn't tracked down why it was what was going on there. So I mean that very well could be a bug.
Yeah. If this is happening to you regularly, similar to the kind of if the game's crashing for you, or if you're seeing an incorrect amount of offline progress, like please open a ticket. Give us many details as you can. It's actually helpful if you open the ticket before when it's about to happen to you. So if you can get it to happen on a regular basis, then get yourself into a situation where you're pretty sure it's going to happen, and then open a ticket. And what that actually does is whenever you open a ticket, we kind of take a snapshot of your account, and where your champions are, and levels and equipment and all that stuff. And so we can load that up and just see what the situation that your account is in. And so please, open a ticket, and we can take a look at it. And the more details you can provide, the better. And we will just continue to try and track this stuff down, because I think there's a lot of edge cases that seem to be involved in causing this. It's not something that we've been able to regularly reproduce in-house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next question here for you, Justin, is from Honda Hero 21, asking, are wild offers personalized, like Google Ads, or are they random? Or are they predetermined for everyone?
Yes, so much like Google Ads, what we do is we enable the microphone on your phone, and then we listen to see what golden items you're talking about, and we offer you those. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, that's Facebook ads, not Google Ads. But wild offers are individual, so they're player by player, because obviously different players have different items, and so we won't offer you an item that you already have, or we won't. We'll offer you an item that you can't. We don't want to offer you an item you can't use. So yeah, there's a certain amount of personalization to them. We don't offer everyone like a familiar wild offer all at the same time. So it's all specific to your account. There's also a little bit of personalization that goes into them because we do base the contents off of whether or not you've taken previous wild offers. So for example, if there's a wild offer that offers a GE for a certain champion and you skip that one, it's less likely that we will offer you a GE for that champion or a skin or a feat for that champion in the future, and vice versa. So there are certain ways to maybe kind of game the system a little bit to get it to offer you other certain items more often or not. So for example, if you buy a familiar offer, we're more likely to offer you a familiar offer in the future as well. But yeah, they're fairly random. There's a large amount of randomness to you or to them for everyone.
Yeah, fairly random, but something that you can use.
Yeah,
so
always something
they're personalized in that way, that they're always something you can use.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a question from Monkey Porter, 1983. Yeah, 83. Say, question. If the different platforms were to have no issue with it, how easy would it be dev side to allow players to load and play a single save across different platforms?
So it's kind of a moderately difficult problem, mainly around the management of it, rather than the technical of like, hey, here's an account, we're loading it up in this location. That part is fairly straightforward, but the biggest part is the management of that. So if different platforms were to have no issue with it, which is a moot point because they do, is just the actual ability to manage that gets a little tricky. We did it in Crusaders for a little while, and that one was one that was across a number of web platforms and on Steam. And the tricky bit with that one was that it often became a case where players had started an account on one platform, started an account on the other, wanted to play their Steam account on their Kong account, and they linked them together, and then the question became, well, they've had both accounts and they've had them for a little while, and they've got progress on one and progress on the other, and then which one takes precedent, and if they've made a purchase on one or a purchase on the other, do you get the items across? And then people would link them across and get them backwards and sort of like, actually I wanted it on this platform. And so you ended up needing to make sort of a whole suite of tools to be able to manage what was connected to what. I think sort of broadly speaking, the best solution that we came up with after the fact would have been to have like a unified login, sort of like you log in, you've got one account, and that's like your Codename account, which you then log into on the various platforms. I mean, I feel like that's what Epic does for Fortnite, and I've seen that on a couple of different platforms doing that. But then that really limits you to just one account. Yeah, so there's a bunch of sort of logistical challenges around it, and sort of management problems around it, in addition to the technical side of it, and then in addition to the sort of the how platforms want to control and keep their audiences siloed. So,
yeah, I mean, I think for me the biggest thing that kind of jumps in front of that bus is when different platforms have different sort of processes for build approvals and different timelines for build approvals and different basically different cadences that we can release at. So it becomes kind of an issue if you've got a build on one platform that has a certain bug in it or has a certain issue with a champion that's causing it to crash or something, and then you've got a different platform that doesn't have that issue or has different issues, and it's not uncommon. If you're playing on Switch for us right now to have adventures that don't unlock necessarily at the same time as they do on other platforms. And so what do you do if you've started that adventure on a platform that supports it, and then you switch over to a platform that doesn't yet support that adventure? Like it just becomes a whole kerfuffle.
Yeah, that's certainly another added wrinkle to it. So, yeah, that would end up being one of those cases where it's like your account is currently on, this version. You can't log into this other version until it's up to date. And it's a headache for sure.
It's a headache for us, and it's a headache for you guys as well. Just if you, like you said, you want to log into it on this platform, it's like, nope, you're not allowed to yet. So. Here's another question, somewhat related, from Kiwi Mischief, who asks, when will I be able to play Idle Champions on my Kindle Fire? It's not currently available in the Amazon App Store.
So we don't have any plans right now to add the game to the Amazon App Store. But are Kindle, am I wrong? Can Kindle Fires not play just general Android apps? Is that a thing, Justin?
I don't know.
Maybe the chat knows.
I honestly don't know. What is the difference between a Kindle and a Fire? Well, a Fire is hot.
You
Thanks,
might have
Google.
searched for the wrong thing.
I just searched for Kindle Fire.
All right. Well, we probably have time for maybe one, maybe two more questions. So let's move on to the next one.
Or we could read the Wikipedia article on Kindle Fire. All right, let's go on to the next one.
Yeah.
The last question of the day.
Sure. Old Manny. Oldie Manny. How would you pronounce it? Old Man.
I would just probably pronounce it Old Man. I would just ignore. I would ignore the extra e's, because I think this player is just trying to be real edgy with their extra e's.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna.
You're not playing that game?
I'm not playing that game.
Nevertheless, Old Man would like to know, is there an easy way to view your champions, their feats and stats, without having to load an area and put them on the field?
So no. Unfortunately, the answer is no. You have to have them on your bench in order to view their stats and abilities and feats. This is something that we do hear fairly regularly, and would be something that we would love to remedy. Have some way to bring up the champion profile dialogue without having to have them on the bench. Especially when you're like looking for a champion to add to your formation, and you're like, is this one going to work? Is that one going to work? Etc. There's not currently an easy way to do that. You don't have to put them onto the field, like you don't have to level them up to see their feats and stats, but you do have to have them be the active champion in the slot. I think actually the really annoying part is when you already have a champion from that slot on the field, because then in order to look at the stats for other champions in that slot, you have to take them off the field essentially and swap them in the bench. So yeah, that's definitely something that we can improve, and something we would like to improve in the future.
For sure.
Did you look into the Amazon Fire thing?
Oh, no, I was just checking the comment here of it was Legend of Neil. That was the Old Man comment. If you remember that at all. But just skimming through here, one question, I was seeing what we were going to have for next time, but I did see a question here that I wanted to comment on, and that was just something here from Gamer Cabot asking about a limit on crash reports. Apparently their game is crashing once an hour, and they've had to delete 45 gigs of crash reports. So 45 gigs is excessive. It's definitely printing something there it should not be. And if you're crashing once an hour, please open a ticket with that formation and have Sean forward that to me as well, because if that should not be happening.
If you're crashing once an hour, we should be able to track that down pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. On that, I think we're out of time.
Oh, well, okay. Well, if we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you will have another opportunity. We will be live again at this same time next week. Well, an hour prior to now, next week. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. Today it was Jay and Martin.
Sean is saying, or Taylor. You can send it to Taylor.
No, just send that to Sean. Yes, thank you, tireless mods, Jay and Martin. They are the ones who copy your questions into our question stock and generally make things awesome. So thanks, guys.
And of course, to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, and enjoying the game. Without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
Yeah, we'd have to do something else.
Right. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Single tear.